Burton Flight Attendant versus the Mullair. Mullair, comparing it against the Flight Attendant. So here we are looking at the GNU Mullair versus the Burton Flight Attendant, and I've been wanting to do this forever.
Round one.
But lately, it's been quite difficult to get
Can't get them in the same room
demos.
at the same time.
Yeah, to get it's like two dogs in a tub.
Yeah,
it's very difficult. It's a very difficult move to achieve, and you know it's been difficult getting demos from Mervyn lately. So, you know. Luckily, thanks to P3 and Mammoth, we got a GNU Mullair 159, pristine condition, versus my Burton Flight Attendant, a good ride favorite. And we compared the two. They both have the same bevel. They both have the same bindings. We each had the same boots throughout the riding. Jimbo had the tactical ADV, and I had the, what are they? The Ride... Why does the name escape me right now? Maybe it's because I'm exhausted.
How is that possible?
But the Ride Super Badass Triple Blow Boot. I forget its name right now, but
I like your name.
I like your name. I like how you work with your names. But anyways, Atlas, same stance width, very similar setback, and I gotta say, I was really surprised at the results. We rode in the morning with Zobel, and Zobel gave us a take that I have on another piece of footage. Then rode with Jimbo, and the results were unanimous. All of us preferred the Mullair over the Flight Attendant, and I really didn't think it would be the same. I thought each would have their own characteristics and their shining moments, but actually, the Flight Attendant was more fun to turn. Felt a little more dynamic underfoot, felt more surfy, and you felt more of the taper without feeling the wash from the taper, where this felt, you know, Burton has that kind of special side cut where even though there's a taper and you feel it, the taper in powder, on groomers it feels very much like a double ender, and this felt way more double ender all mountain, and this felt way more free ride. And since they're both free rides, I think in general, the general preference would be that you'd want it to feel more surfy, more free ride. But to each his own. Some people might like this more double ender feel. This was easier to ride switch than this, but they were both doable for how directional and tapered they were. You know, this was a little easier to butter and to press. Mm-hmm. And Jimbo, what'd you say? Like, if you immediately preferred the Mullair? I
immediately preferred this. This was just really stiff under my feet. It was really clunky to turn. It didn't turn easily for me, so it just takes a little dedication, I think.
Yeah, it felt a little meaner and a little more aggressive and a little more catchy.
Yeah.
Yet, even though, like, if you turn them both sideways here, this has a little bit of early rise. It's got a little bit of flat to rocker, but you can see this has got a longer nose, you know, and a little more, like the nose is a little more leveled with the snow, where this is a little more kinked and a little more gnarly, and a little shorter, you know, and yet we had this in a little bit of ugly powder, and we felt like they both floated pretty well. I felt this was maybe a touch better, but I liked how this felt in powder.
Yeah, like this one's maneuverability was better for me in powder than
that. The surf factor was higher.
But good floaty.
Yeah, more surfy, a little less floaty. This was maybe a touch less floaty, but they both were about same setback. I think set all the way back, both of these. These were kind of set more in the middle of the stance range, but I think both set all the way back. I bet you they'd be pretty close when it comes to float and powder, because I think you feel this taper a little more with the Mullair versus the Flight Attendant, and you feel, maybe it seems like where at first I thought this like shorter, fatter, more kinked shovel nose with this rocker, with this touch of rocker, kind of after the bindings, going to flat to an early rise, would have more advantage of the float, but this smaller tail, and on the Mullair versus the Flight Attendant seemed to have a little bit of an advantage, and this little longer nose, it almost seemed to equal out with this rocker off the tip and tail, and then that little bump in the middle, that C3 bump might level out the camber a little bit, so it's less. I didn't feel like either of these boards had a tendency for the nose to sink. No. Even though, the powder was thick and ugly, and it wasn't that,
We stayed on top of it with them.
Yes, we stayed on top of it. It was not an exemplary powder day. But Zobo liked the Mullair better at almost every condition. Yeah. I felt in powder they were closer, but I liked the Mullair in every condition better too.
Yeah.
And I liked it carving. I liked it. It had better edge hold. It felt like it engaged into a more directional, surfy carve better, where this felt more between your feet kind of carve. But they're both still, the Flight Attendant is still an amazing board. I just think all in all, I like the overall feel, the flex, just the general, for friendliness of the Mullair over the Flight Attendant. The Flight Attendant felt a little more serious, a little more stiff, a little more
dominatrix.
Yeah, a little less dynamic underfoot, where this felt like more dynamic underfoot, more poppy, more playful, more kind of do anything. Where this
could make quicker and smaller turns with this one than I could with that one.
Yeah, the turn initiation was faster. This was like fast. Yeah. This felt like medium fast.
I'm gonna turn.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna turn.
And I've had great times on this Flight Attendant, but this is what's so great about comparisons. Well, the first time we rode the Mullair, or the Mullair, it was...
We didn't have to mull anything over at all.
Super fun, and we loved it, but we weren't really sure how it would compare and fare to the Flight Attendant. Now that we got a comparison, I definitely prefer this. I would rather have the Mullair in my quiver than the Flight Attendant. However, if I think both are still
stranded on a desert island with a chairlift and a mountain with snow on it. With the Flight Attendant, I think I'd do fine.
Where's Peter in this? You're stranded on a desert island?
Yes.
What was that one review said? He just kept critiquing everything I said.
Peter,
yes.
Come back to me.
We miss you. I miss your critiques.
I miss when James takes out
I
his
miss
Peter.
That casual flick to my nuts.
James takes
verbally.
Out his Peter.
I miss my Peter. It's weird not having a Peter,
Yeah. All right, the digression.
Yeah, we digress. But anyways, all in all, very impressed with the more tapered, more dynamic feel of the Mullair. And they're both 159s, and I felt that I was really surprised. I think I'd be happier with the Mullair as a daily driver than the Flight Attendant. And I think it's a better all-conditions ride, where it might be a touch less floaty in powder. They're still super close. I just think all in all, the Mullair, it definitely meshes better as a traditional free ride board, where this feels more like a free ride board with a very strong all mountain aftertaste. Very double ender, very aggressive all mountain. So there you have it. That is the Flight Attendant and the Mullair. I forgot to flex these. I was totally thrown off when this girl got it when it walked inside my car.
Yeah.
What's her name?
Emily.
Emily. Yeah. So definitely similar in flex, but it feels like just like on snow and on in shop, the flex of the Mullair feels just a touch softer, a touch more playful. Both of these boards have been ridden about a similar amount of time, so they've both broken in accordingly, and that's that.
So overall, I think this could be a little more well-rounded than the Flight Attendant.
Yeah, they're both great free ride boards,
Both really great.
but the Mullair just seemed to have a little more personality, a little more lively underfoot, a little more, yeah.